Hi, I'm Chris from the Tabletop Game Talk podcast, and this is Tabletop Play Along. And today, we're going to play Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns is a 1 to 6 player game from AEG. It is a bit of a town building game, a tiny town building game, and I'm going to play a 2-player game. So, what I have here set up is what we would need for a 2-player game. These here are the different buildings that are going to be able to be built during the game. Every game is going to have the same cottage. So there's only one card of these. But all of the other buildings have multiple cards. So each one of them has 4. And for each game, you're just going to pick one. So this one is an inn. The inns look like this piece here. And you can tell because the symbol up there has the same pattern. This one here says I get 3 victory points, which is what this yellow circle with the green looks like a clover inside of it stands for, victory points. If not in a row or column with another inn. So in other words, this would be 3 victory points, but this would be no victory points because they're in another column with another inn. So that is how our inns are going to play. This is, our black buildings are going to be the warehouse. So the warehouse looks like this building here. And this is -1 victory point for each resource on the warehouse. This is literally on. Each warehouse can store 3 resources when another player names a resource, or we're going to use a slight variant, but the concept's the same. I may place that resource on this or swap it with another resource on this. So basically what can happen here is if I have this built and someone calls out the red resource, I can put this on the factory instead of having to place it someplace else on my board. And we'll see how placing goes in just a moment. We are still just going through setup here. All right. Greenhouses. Greenhouses will feed our cottages. In fact, let's just move this over here. Our red barn looking buildings, they're always going to be what feeds cottages, because cottages get 3 points if the building is fed. So if I have a cottage here by itself, this doesn't actually count as any points, but if I have a greenhouse, then it would. And the greenhouse feeds a continuous group of cottages, or any building that needs to be fed, anywhere in my town. So if this was up here, this could be fed. These 2 would not be fed because they're not in a contiguous group. But if I built these here, now all of these are fed because they're one contiguous group. But again, this one would not be fed. So this will determine how I place my buildings depending on what I need to feed. Our next building is going to be a cloister. Cloisters get 1 point for each cloister in the corner of a town. So really, this is worth 1 point. This is worth 4 points because this is worth 2 and that's worth 2. And then I can get up to, so now each one of these is worth 4 points and that's 16 points. So if you can build in that way, 16 points is a lot of points, and that's how we're going to score for cloisters. All right, next building is going to be our bakery. Bakeries score 3 points if they're adjacent to, in this case, greenhouses or factories. So, pretty self-explanatory. This here is going to be worth 3 points, but then again, so is that. You don't need to be, you're not going to get bonus points if you're adjacent to more than one of those types of buildings. But, and adjacent is always left, right, up, down. So this now, these bakeries are worth 3 points each. And then our final type of building are usually the easiest and cheapest to build. This is going to be a well. And a well gets 1 point for each adjacent, in this case, cottage. So these are our wells. This is going to be worth 1 point. However, if we are able to build cottages all the way around, this is going to be worth 4 points now. So those are going to be our buildings, and this will be our common setup. The rest of the cards are removed, so we're not going to play with all of these. These will be for future games. You can see right away there's a lot of variability in the games, and there's a lot of room for expansion too, as they can just release more cars and give you more special abilities. The last thing we're going to do to set up our game is we're going to pass out 2 monuments to each player. And the rest of the monuments are removed. And then each player is going to select one of those monuments to keep, and they're going to keep it hidden. In the game we're playing now, since I'm both players, I'm going to leave it face up. But typically, this would not be something that your opponent knows you're playing with. So I have the Obelisk of the Crescent and the Architects Guild. The Obelisk says I may place all future buildings on an empty square in my town. So as soon as I'm able to build this building, I have this ability where I can basically break one of the rules of the game. And we'll cover that in just a moment. The Architects Guild gives me 1 victory point when it's created. And when constructed, I replace up to 2 buildings in my town with any other building type. Now, I haven't talked about how buildings are built yet, but needless to say, you're trying to get patterns, and the more complicated the pattern, the harder the building is to build. So if I build a couple wells, and then I build this, which is also a very complicated pattern, I could then build 2 warehouses. I could build a warehouse and a cloister. I could build a bakery. I could put wells in the corner and then put cloisters out there to score big points. This one gives me a lot of options with those just instantly switch out 2 buildings. This one, though, is really, really good because this allows me to place buildings anywhere on the map. So if I'm also going for a cloister strategy, this one could be a really good option to choose. This is a tough call, but I think I'm going to keep the Obelisk of the Crescent. Actually, no. I'm gonna go with the Architects Guild because I like this idea of just being able to build small buildings and switch them out for whatever I need. And it's not that hard to position buildings. So this piece here is going to rest here until we've built this. Now let's see what we have over here. Over here we have the Silva Forum, and this gives you 1 victory point when you build it, plus 1 victory point for each building in your largest contiguous group of buildings of the same type in your town. So if I want to go a heavy well strategy, I could do this. This is going to give me 5 points plus the 1, so this is going to be worth 6 points at the end of the game. Now with wells, they don't score anything unless they're adjacent to a cottage, so I have to kind of go back and forth on this. And then cottages, I need to feed in order for them to score points. And a greenhouse also feeds a contiguous group, so this actually plays really well with a cottage greenhouse strategy. So this is a pretty good option here. The Grand Mausoleum of Rodina? Sure. For your unfed cottages are all worth 3 points each. So this allows me to build cottages without having to feed them. This is really, really nice because I can just go crazy cottage heavy and never have to worry about greenhouses. But I think that this gives a better strategy for the cards out here. So I'm going to take this card here for this player over here. All right, that is the setup. All our players have chosen their monuments. We have our board. There are different buildings that we're able to build out here. Now, how do we build buildings? Good question. In Tiny Towns, you are going to be naming resources. Now, there's actually 2 ways to play. I'm going to describe the generic way or the basic way, and then I'm going to use an optional rule just because I'm playing 2 players, and that way when I'm naming resources back and forth for myself, it's a little bit more random the way I'm going to do it. So typically what happens, though, is you have a master builder, and that master builder is going to call out a resource. So say, for example, we call wheat. Wheat's yellow. Everybody's going to take a wheat, and they're going to place it on their board wherever they want to. Now, what they're trying to do is build one of these buildings. So wheats are going to be able to build all of these, and in the cases of the hidden monuments, each one of these monuments is going to have a piece there too. So after you've put a resource down, you may choose to build buildings. And you can build as many buildings as you want as long as you have the right patterns out there. Right now we have nothing. So then it would go to the other player, and they would name something. So they're going to name glass. And we're going to put that glass there, and this glass here. Again, nobody has anything they can build. Over here we're going to name wood. And I might put a wood here. And this guy here is like, oh, well, I didn't really want the wood, so I'm going to put the wood up here. Maybe I'm going to do a well. Over here, he's going to name brick because he's going for a cottage. Over here, I don't really want brick right now, but I can give myself some options. So maybe I'll put this here because I can build a cottage, and that's one thing to note. So the cottage, this is the pattern. So here we have the exact pattern, yellow, blue. Here we don't have the exact pattern, but patterns can be flipped. So they can be mirrored. So this is still a cottage, and that can be built here. So as long as you can mirror and rotate it any way you want, if you can still create that pattern, you have a valid build here. Now, this player here is going to choose not to build anything, but over here, we're going to build a cottage, and we're going to take all 3 pieces off, and then we put a cottage in one of the spaces that those pieces were in. These we return back to the supply, and we continue. Over here, I might name wood, and now I can build a greenhouse. So I can take all these 4 pieces off, and I can build a greenhouse in any of these spaces. So that's the basic way of going, and this would just pass back and forth. An alternate way of dealing with resources is with the resource deck, and this is considered the town hall variant. So what happens is one person serves as the mayor, but it doesn't really matter. That person's just dealing with the cards. So you're going to shuffle this deck, and you're going to discard 5 of them. Oh. And so 5 cards are going to just be discarded. I'm just going to put them out of the scene. And then in order to do resources, what we're going to do is we're going to flip up a resource, and all players are going to get that resource. We're then, in that case, what we're going to do is we're going to place the stone now. So over here, I want a large group of buildings. So I think I want to go with this cottage greenhouse strategy. But this is a problem for me because stone, I guess stone can go in here. So I can actually start building my forum here. So I'm going to place this up here. I'm going to try to get some bricks and wood here and get a wheat there so I can put my forum up here in the corner. Over here, I think I'm going to go for a cloister strategy because I can build these buildings anywhere. So what I might want to do is I'm going to put wells in the corners, and then when I switch out the cloisters, I'm going to turn these wells into cloisters and just like, boom, there we go, we have cloisters. So this brick here, or I'm sorry, this stone here is going to go, well, we're going to try to build this one here. And I have to be careful a little bit, but I think here is going to give me the best option. All right, so next one is wood. And we're playing for real now. So over here, I'm still trying to build this. So this is good. Now, I don't have to do this right away, but I do need a greenhouse as soon as possible. So I might actually want to start looking at building a greenhouse, because without this greenhouse here, I'm not going to be able to feed my cottages. But once I build this greenhouse, I should be able to feed a bunch of cottages. So I'm going to put the wood, instead of building here, I think I'm going to keep this one as kind of secret. I don't want them to know what I'm doing. So I'm going to put this wood down here to start building a greenhouse. Over here, I see that I have a wood and a stone can build a well. So I'm going to put this here, and then I'm going to instantly build that well. So I have a well in the corner. I'm already starting out with this idea that I'm definitely going to go and build cloisters here. Now, in this variant, the third turn, the players can pick any resource they want. So over here, I think I'm going to pick a glass because I'm still trying to build this greenhouse here. Over here, I don't have anything to start with, but I do want to start building an actual cloister. So I think I'm going to pick another stone, and I'm going to put the stone here. So I'm going to try to build this cloister here, and then get that going there. All right, now 2 more cards straight up. Glass. So here we are trying to build cottages. I already have a glass for the greenhouse. So I'm just going to start building my cottages. I'm going to put a glass in the corner here. On this side, let's see, we're trying to build the cloisters. So we're going to just put the glass here because then we just need the brick and the wood. All right, another glass. This isn't actually what either one wants to see, but over here, well, I guess I could build another, or just set up for another cottage. So we're going to put that there. Over here, let's see. Our wells aren't worth anything, if they're not next to cottages. But we are going to replace these wells here, but we still may want to have some cottages. No, we're not going to go cottage strategy at all over here, because we're going to go cloister, and we're going to do inns, because if we can build enough inns, we can really get a lot of points there too. So I'm going to put this here and start building an inn here. All right, so that was 2 more, and now each side gets to pick a piece. So over here, let's see. I think we haven't seen any wheat come up, so we can kind of expect a wheat pretty soon. I think I'm going to put a wood over here to start building this greenhouse. Over here, let's just continue building a cloister, and we'll choose a brick. All right, now 2 more cards. Wheat. Here we're trying to build cottages, so we're going to put our wheat there. Over here, wheat is going to be okay for this inn, so we're going to put this here, and hopefully we'll get a stone there. So second card, stone, awesome. So this is all played simultaneously, so I'm going to put this stone here, and we're going to replace all those with an inn, and we can put the inn at the top, because right now it's not conflicting with anything, and we're going to have some other stuff in this top row. So this looks like a good a place as any to put it. We could have put it in either of these 2 spots. Over here we have a stone, and stone actually doesn't help us too much over here. We have our forum that we're trying to build, but we may just need to put this stone out here someplace that we can turn it into a well and call it good. So let's put that up here. We're just going to start it up there. So this is an issue where I don't necessarily want this stone, and this warehouse could be useful for that, because I could put a warehouse out there, and then I could put the stone on the warehouse to kind of keep it out of my way. Now over here, this is getting scary, because I'm getting lots of filled up spaces and no buildings. Here I have 2 buildings already, and these are getting a little bit cleaner. Something to note, at the end of the game, we're going to score based on all of this, but you're going to score -1 point for each empty space, and at the end of the game, all of the resources are removed. And whenever you can't place something or build something, you're done. You're out of the game for forever. The game tends to go pretty fast once that starts to happen, so it's not like you're going to be out forever for very long. So we've just drawn 2. Now both sides get to pick anything. Over here, I think we're going to pick a wheat, and we're going to replace that and put our greenhouse out here. And we'll put that in the corner. And then over here, we were trying to build a cloister, so we are going to use wood, and then we're going to build a cloister. So all of these here, and we want our cloisters on the edges. So we're doing pretty good over here. We're following our strategy. We already have 3 points here, 1 point there, so that's 4 points. On this side, we don't have any points, because our greenhouse never gives us points. It just feeds our cottages. But we're getting closer to the cottages. All right, 2 more cards. With these a little bit of an angle, so it's easier to count them. Wheat. All right, so we are trying to build cottages over here, and I'm going to put a wheat here to help that process. We still haven't built our forum here. We definitely need to get that forum out there. But right now, I think we're okay just putting our wheat. Yeah. Maybe we put our wheat here. No, because we have this stone in the way. So, we're going to put our wheat here on this side. On this side here, we do like the wheat as far as inns are concerned. So let's put that wheat here. So if we can get another inn in this row, or this column, sorry, we'll get points for it. And then it also doesn't have a conflicting row. So this is kind of where we want to put that in. All right, next resource is going to be wood. Let's see, over here, wood is not what we want to see. We do have this one here, though, and we're kind of building this. Ooh, this was a bad place to put this. I think what I need to do is get rid of one of these right away, because right now this is sort of upside down, and I don't want that upside down. So I am going to... I'm going to place a wood here, and then I'm going to turn that into a well. So now I need 2 bricks here, a wood here, and the wheat here. And that's going to allow me to build my forum, because I need to get this out of the way. This is a pretty complicated building on this side. All right, to the other side. Okay. The wood doesn't help for our inn. It does help for cloisters. So let's start building another cloister over here. And we'll put this here so we can do our brick and stone and then glass and then build a cloister there. And now we've done 2 cards, so we'll straighten them and we can pick anything we want. So here I need to start building this for Sirius. So I'm going to put a brick over here, and over here I think I'm going to put a brick over here as well. Actually, there's a good chance that bricks are going to come up here. And we've had a few stones showing up already, so I'm actually going to put a stone over here. All right, next 2 cards. Wood. So over here, wood helps us build this. So we're going to put the wood here. So now we have wood, stone, brick. We have our wheat. So 1 more brick, and we'll be able to build our forum here. Over here, we could do, I think we need to start looking here, because if we're going to use this Architects Guild, we're going to have to start actually building the Architects Guild. This is going to be glass, because that's what we need this to be. So where are we going to build this? So we need to plan that. We could do, this is going to be tricky, because we need this here. If we put the wood here to start, this is going to clog our board for a little while. Ooh, wood's a bad one. Maybe, actually no, this is what we'll do. We'll put wood here, and then if we put a stone here or here, this would turn into a well, and that still allows us to build over here. And hopefully we can get a glass before that happens. All right, last one is wheat. And over here, wheat is not a fantastic option. We really wanted to build a cottage, so we need to get some bricks here, but we want bricks there. We can choose our next play, we can choose whatever we want, but yeah, this is going to be a little tricky. I think what I will do is I will put wheat here. And this hopefully will become apparent in a moment. Over here, if we're building this, then we want wheat right there. And that will help me on this side. All right, so now we get to pick any choice we want. Now this here, I could pick a brick and put it here. This would build this, but I'm getting a little crowded over here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a brick here, which allows me brick, glass, wheat. So these are going to go away, and then I'm going to build a cottage here. So I can actually, anywhere that I have blue on a corner, I'll be able to build a cottage. And this wheat, if I can put like a blue here and a brick here, I'll be able to build a cottage down here. So hopefully we can get rid of that wheat pretty soon. On this side, we're going to build our cloister. We're going to build glass, or use glass over here and put this here. So now we need a brick here to finish up this cloister. We're still working on this, but hopefully this glass gets out of the way before this happens. All right, once we're out of cards in this particular variant, we pull in the 5 cards that we originally took out. We're going to shuffle these. And then we discard 5 cards again. So we don't know what the distribution is. Typically the distribution is 3 of each. But with taking 5 out, we're taking essentially a quarter of the deck out. So we don't know. I mean, it's possible that there are no resources of a particular type in here. But we get to name our own resources when we need to. So that kind of evens things out. All right, glass. On this side, we can use a glass up here. And that's going to help us build our guild. Over here, we like glass because that helps us build cottages. So I'm going to aim for that direction there. Wood. All right. Wood over here. Again, if we're looking here, this is actually where we want to put the wood. This is not good on this side. So I think what we're going to need to do here is just, we need to dump a wood. It's not so good to throw this away so early. This location here is not going to get, it's not going to be needed for a while, so we're going to put that wood here. And then on this side, we don't want wood for here, but again, we have these wells that do score us points if they're adjacent to cottages, and we're going to build a lot of cottages, so maybe we'll put this here and then we can build a well in one of those two places. All right, so now we get to pick a resource. I really need to thin things out over here, so I think I'm going to pick a brick right now, and I'm going to build my forum. So we can see we have wood, stone, brick, wheat, and that's going to remove these. And then we can put this on any of the spaces that we were just on. And we'll put this over here just to kind of keep it up and out of the way. All right, so now our forum is active. We get 1 point automatically, and we get +1 for each building in the largest contiguous group. Right now that's 1 because we just have a bunch of buildings kind of sitting around there. Over here, we're going to ask for, and we're going to do a cloister, or a brick. So this brick allows us to build the cloister. So that removes these. We're going to put these on the side. So right now I know here what's going on. Now the interesting thing about this variant is when you're naming resources, you can actually name resources that will clog your opponent's boards or in some way mess with what they're trying to do, clutter their board, so you can kind of name a resource that you want. This variant is a little bit more peaceful, and the reason I'm playing it, because if I'm playing against myself, that whole making plays to screw each other over, and it's just too much for the head. This is hard enough to think about as it is, so we'll be fine doing the nice, peaceful, happy variant. So this is a little bit less take that-y of a variant. Not that you can't still get the resources you don't want and get your board clogged. It's just not the fault of your opponent when that happens. All right, back to flipping the cards. Another wood. Oh, we do not like all of this wood coming out on really either side. But over here, we do need a wood for this building here, so we can put that here. Over here, we've already built a greenhouse. We don't need more greenhouses. We can use more wells as long as we can get cottages next to them, but we're starting to get a little bit tight on the cottages. I almost am considering building a warehouse, but warehouses are really big to build, and there's not a lot of space to put a warehouse right now. So I believe I'm going to put the wood here, hoping that I can get a cottage here, put a stone and then a cottage, and hopefully turn that into something that's usable. Glass. All right, another glass. On this side, we don't need glass for the guild, and we are going to try to change this. The inn does need glass, but we don't have, with this being on the outside, or well, basically the middle, I can't put glass on either side here. That's going to mess up my inn. I could put glass, potentially I could put glass here as a temporary place, but, well, that could work. Yeah, let's put it there, just kind of getting out of the way. All right, so now we can name any resource we want. And over here, again, we're trying to build houses. We want houses or cottages. And this here is a cottage if we put a brick there. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to remove these and put this here. So I'm trying to keep these on the edges so that I have a lot more room to play with up here. On this side, we are a stone and a brick away from completing our guild. But we also need to get this turned into a well before we complete our guild. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to turn those into cloisters. So I'm going to take a stone over here. I'm going to replace those and build a well over here. So now I'm all set up. If I can get a stone and a brick, I will be able to replace those with cloisters, and my evil plan will be complete. I do have to still place this in one of those locations, but that's not that big a deal. All right, let's see what the fates have for us. Brick, this is great over here. We know exactly where we're going to put that. We're going to put that right there. It's actually not bad over here either because there's more cottages to be built. So now we're going to look for a wheat to go here. So that was the first card. Second card is another brick. I don't know that either side is really excited to see that. Over here, well, we're going to think about this one. Over here, though, if we do a house here, we can actually do this, and then we could put a glass and a wheat over here. So once we get a wheat here, we can remove that and put a cottage here, and then this could be part of another house. So we're okay there. I'm using house and cottage interchangeably, just because. Over here, how do we play this so that it's not a mess? Well, so this is getting all cluttery here, and one of the things that we can do is we just want to remove some of these pieces. So if I was to put this here, I could actually remove these three. Oh no, I can't because the blue's not in the corner. If the blue were in the corner, I'd be able to remove that and do a building there, but that is not an option. Well, this is getting really dangerous over here. I think that this is my best bet. Maybe I can turn this into something later. I just don't know what this would be. Well, I could put a glass here, and then I could build a cottage here. So maybe that's the best bet. That would clean things up a little bit. I'm not feeding I don't have a greenhouse anyplace, so I'm not feeding my cottages, but it does free up my board when I do that. All right. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we get to choose our resource. Over here, I'm trying to build cottages, so I'm going to put this here, and I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to put a cottage in one of these areas, and I'm going to put it here. So I'm trying to keep all these angles free to give myself as many cottages as possible, because for every one built, they're being fed as long as they're next to each other, and I'm getting a bonus point. So I'm getting 4 points for every one of these cottages I'm building right now. Over here, I really need to build this and get this out of my way. So I'm going to use stone, and now this is wood, brick, wheat, stone, glass. Removing those, and then I'm just going to put this. I'm going to put this here, down there, and then when constructed, replace up to 2 buildings in your town with any other 2 buildings. And we are going to realize our cloister strategy. So now we have 16 points just in cloisters, and that's huge. Plus 1 here for the monuments, so that's 17, plus 3 here, so that's 20 points over here. Doing great. Over here we have 12 points, but still a lot of game left. All right, next resource we need to deal with is wheat. Over here, we're actually not too sad to see wheat because we want to build a cloister here. And over here, I don't know that we are excited for wheat, but we might be able to get an inn out of this anyway. So let's see if we can start building an inn maybe over here. We have to get rid of this here, but I can do that by placing a stone here and pulling that down. Or I could build a greenhouse and do that, but I think this is not a terrible place to put that. All right, second one is glass. Well, that's just perfect over here. So now we have our cottage, and we'll remove that, and we'll put a cottage We'll put that here. We can put that anywhere here. And we're going to put that there. Over here with glass. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put this here because now we are one away from building an inn. So if I can get a stone here, that inn will collapse those over there. And now we get to pick, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a stone here, and then that's going to replace these, and I'm going to put an inn here. So because there's nothing in, So because there's no row or column in here, these are both worth 3 points each. So that's good. That helped me a lot over here. Over here, I get to pick anything I want. And, this is an interesting choice. But I think I'm going to pick stone. No. I'm eventually going to get a stone that I'm not going to want because stone don't help me build cottage. So I'm actually going to pick glass. And I'm going to put a glass in the corner here because then I can put a wheat or a brick in either one of those spaces. And that, I just have a feeling that that'll help me out in the long run. Okay, did that feeling pay off? See? Stone. All right, so I'm going to put that stone here, and I am going to build a well. And I'm going to put it up here in the corner because if I was to build here, there's really nothing I can do with this space. So hopefully I can get a cottage in there and have them still be connected so that the cottages are fed. On this side over here, we're going to put a stone here. And we're going to merge these two together to also form a well. This isn't going to give us any points unless we can get a cottage over here, but it does clear up the board a little bit because now we're trying to build inns. And, the problem is we're never going to be able to build an inn down here. But even one more inn, if we can get an inn right here or right here, either one of those spots, that's going to give us another 3 points, which isn't too bad. Maybe an inn here, and then we can get a cottage here. Now, there's a lot that we want to do over here. That was our first card. So our second one is another stone. And over here, we're going to put a stone, and that's going to turn into another well. Here, our stone is going to go here. Because now our inn, we just need one glass, and we're back to being able to choose. So that's what I'm going to do, is over here, we're going to choose glass. I'm going to remove these, and I'm going to place an inn. I can't get any more points with inns because the only other place that doesn't have a row or column with an inn in it is this one here, and I already have my cloister here. So now we have to figure out a new way of getting points over here. Over here, however, I am going to go with wheat in the corner. This will allow me to put a brick in either one of these spots, and I can get a cottage over there. All right, back to the shuffling of the resource deck. I'm going to give this a little bit of a quick rifle shuffle, just so that they're not clumped. All right, and we're going to discard 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those go away. That's there. And let's see what happens. So stone on both sides. Stone over here, we're really going all in on this well strategy. But I think that there's nothing better for us to do with stone over here. We could do an inn, but I really want the inn. I really want the wheat and the glass for my buildings here. So I think I'm going to put a stone here. And then if we get a wood, I can pull that over and I can get a cottage up there. On this side over here, what do we want our next points? Where do we want our next points to go? We don't actually have to have fed cottages over here for wells to be worth points. And we could easily put a cottage here if we can get a glass and a wheat. So maybe I go here and hope for glass, wheat, and wood, and I can kind of get a cottage over there. Well, but I really would want to put the cottage down here. Alright, well, we're just going to try to keep this stone out of the way for now. Just out of the way. Alright. Wood. Stone and wood are terrible for this side of the board. But we have only our one option. It's our all-in strategy with wells. You know, one of the things... So we're trying to get as many contiguous buildings of the same type together. Wells are a type of building. This might be better for me to work on building those two groups if I'm going to keep getting these stone anyway. I'm still going to put it here because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to get anything in there. But maybe I put another well up here. We'll see how the points, well, the houses play out over here, how the resources play out. On this side, wood becomes a little trickier because, again, we're just going to have to build a well. So we're going to do this, and then we'll remove those pieces and put a well. And maybe we can get a cottage inside of there. All right, we've done our two, so now we're going to be able to pick the resource we want. On this side, I'm definitely going to pick a brick, and then I'm going to combine these into a cottage. And on this side, I think I'm going to pick a glass so I can get a cottage out of these. Or do I try to build, is there any way I can build a greenhouse? So I actually can't build a greenhouse anymore. I cannot feed cottages over here. So that's sort of a problem. I can get points from the wells, and I could... My bakery is going to be useless because I don't have a greenhouse or a warehouse. So not going to be able to do anything with bakeries, nothing with cloisters. So really, wells and cottages are the only thing I can build over here. And I can just try to stay alive as long as possible. So, because even if these aren't adjacent to a building, to a cottage, they're still going to not count as a negative point at the end of the game. So that's what I'm kind of aiming for here. So I'm going to put this blue one. This blue one's stuck. I cannot get rid of it. So I'm going to put this blue one here. We'll put this here. And then hopefully I'll get a wheat. And if I can get a wheat, I can turn this into a cottage. All right. So we've now picked our resources. We're good on both sides. We're going to go back to the cards. Wheat. All right. That's great over here. This turns into a cottage. It'll be a non-scoring cottage. But if we can get a well next to it, that'll give us another point. So we can try to do that now. Wheat on this side is going to start out our next cottage that we want to build. Now we're not going to be able to get a cottage here or here. The best we can do there is get another well. So wheat has to go here or here for it to be of any value. And since we essentially have a mirrored board, it doesn't really matter what side that goes on. But we really want to see glass or brick. All right, brick's great. So we'll put the brick here. On this side, the best we can do is we can put a brick here, and then we could do glass wheat. And then potentially we can get a well over here. And if we can get a cottage over here, that'll score well there. All right, so that was 2. And now it's time to choose. So I'm going to choose a glass here. So this is going to be tricky because once I make this move, I am not going to be able to place any more cottages. I'm only going to be able to do wells. And I'll be able to do a lot of wells, but not if I get anything that's not. So what I'm going to do here is we are going to build a cottage because that was our strategy from the beginning. And we're going to go... If I go here, that cuts that off. If I go here, that cuts that off. If I go here, I can only build wells anymore. If I go here, though, I can actually build an inn, which would be worth another 3 points. And so the inn's not a bad choice to go for. And I could still build 2 wells here if it came up that way. So I think I'm going to go here. I'm going to leave my options open as much as possible. And I'm going to go here with this. All right, on this side, we are going to... now we're just kind of rolling the dice. So if I put a glass here... Actually, no. I'm going to put a glass here. I'm going to hope for a wheat. But if I do get a stone or a brick, that's okay as well, as long as I get both of them in a row. And then I might be able to choose the right piece here. So our boards are getting pretty full. The game is getting near the end. And let's see what happens. Brick. All right. Brick over here, not at all what we wanted to see. Really, really bad. So I think the only place we can do is we can put this here and hope that we get a wheat that we can turn into a house. We'll see. The next card it has to be a wheat, otherwise this board is done. Over here, though, we have a little bit more flexibility. We're not going to be able to build that inn that we were looking at building. We're certainly not building a well, but I left this space open. I knew it was going to be there, so we're going to just kind of throw the brick over there. All right, so the next one is wood. Wood is actually great over here. So I'm actually going to put a wood here. Wood over here has to go here. There's nothing we can build. This board is locked. We're done. So now this board keeps playing out until the game's over, which means 2 cards, choose. 2 cards, choose. When you're playing the Master Builder version, you can just keep calling the pieces you want until you finish your board. So being the last person alive is actually a pretty big advantage in the Master Builder version. In this version, I don't know if it's as big of an advantage, but let's see what happens with the cards. So we are now to where we can choose a resource. If they could have lasted for one more turn, they would have been a little bit better. But here, we're going to choose the brick. I'm going to collapse these into a well. All right. If the fates are good to this side, we want to see a brick and a wood. Well, let's see what happens. That is a wheat. That is going to cause us to be able to do nothing over here of value. So this one actually doesn't matter. And I meant stone and wood. If that wheat were a wood, we would have been in a pretty good spot. We could have done something there, but we didn't. So that is the end of Tiny Towns. So let's do final scoring. So this is the score pad that comes with the game. And we have 2 builders here. We have our left builder and our right builder. So we're going to go through and score all of the different buildings. There were no warehouses scored. This would be a negative points if it were. So we're going to put 0 for both of those. Now we're going to score cottages. Cottages score 3 if they're fed. And they're fed if we have a greenhouse and they're within a contiguous group. Now, we got multiple greenhouses in multiple groups, but that's an inefficient way to build a tiny town. So we do have a contiguous group here. So each one of these is going to be worth 3 points. That's 6 of them, so that's 18 points on the right. Over here, we have 1 cottage, but it's not fed, so that's going to be 0 points over there. Now, we're going to score cloisters. 1 for each cloister in the corner of town. So that means that each one of these is going to count for 4 points. So we have 4 times 4. That's going to be 16 on the left. On the right, we have none, so that's going to be 0. Now we're going to score inns. Inns score 3 if they're not in a row or column with another inn. So this is 3, that's 3, that's 3. They're all nice there. So on the left, we got 9 points. On the right, we have no inns. We're going to score bakeries. Nobody's built any bakeries. It just didn't work with whatever strategies were being played. So those are 0s. We're going to score wells. Wells score 1 for each adjacent cottage. Now, over here, we have 0 on the left side. On the right side, if I could have got a well in here, that would have been worth 3 points. But as it is, we have 1 well for 1 point. This one's for 1 point. So we have 2 points for wells. We were really hoping for the right resources on this side. That just didn't play out. All right, our forums. So our forums are going to be worth 1 plus 1 for each building in the largest contiguous group. So we have 6 here, we have 5 here. So this is going to be 1 plus 6, so this is going to be 7 points on the right. Over here, this just scores 1 point. It doesn't have any extra points or extra scoring. All right, finally, and this is actually something you do before anything else, you're going to remove all of the resources on the boards. There's resources at the end don't do anything except for clutter the town, and since the town is cluttered, you're going to get negative points. So on the right, I'm going to get negative 3 points. And on the left, I'm going to get negative 5 points. Then we're going to tally these up. So we have 20, 27, minus 3 is 24 points on the right. Over here, we have 10, 26, minus 5 is 21 points on the left. And that is Tiny Towns. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, subscribe, let me know that you want to see more of these videos, and I will do more of them because it's kind of fun. It's a quick game. I get to play against myself and see who won. In this case, my right brain won over my left brain, or my right hand won over my left hand, or whatever. Enjoy.